I think the festival is in many ways a sort of weather vane for both the way the wind's blowing for telly and for content, and also in some ways predicts, what's going to happen in the year ahead. And I think one of the things we're trying to do with this festival is, in a sense, to maybe move on a bit from last year, where we donned hair shirts and self-flagellated for an entire weekend, and now I think it's a good time to get things in perspective. Television has absolutely been in the dock, and apparently found guilty on a number of occasions over the last year. Fine, some terrible things happened, some not so terrible, that were made to look terrible. I think now is a time to celebrate, to some extent, talent and content and creativity. And I think, if anything, creativity and talent is probably the theme of this year's festival. That does not mean we just give ourselves a massive pat on the back. It means that we've got to look at kind of what our positives are, what our strengths are, and also I think just get away from the complete navel-gazing and suicidal depression that we were all in this time last year. Because if nothing else, suicidal depression is boring when it gets repetitive. So let's do something different. Let's be a bit more upbeat, but obviously also, be fairly as objective as objective as a bunch of TV execs up at spending a weekend together could be. I think a good McTaggart is a good Edinburgh. I think McTaggart is absolutely the centrepiece. It's the big speech, and when it goes well, it kind of has this halo effect around the festival. It's not just sort of entertaining and thought-provoking. It actually brings out the issues that then get discussed over the next 3 days. So I think a good McTaggart is essential. I think this year's McTaggart is going to be a vintage McTaggart. I think Peter's going to do a fantastic speech. I'm really, really confident about that. I think when I asked Peter if he would do it, he was actually a free agent at the time. He was this was back in sort of November, December of last year. So he was absolutely the first person I approached. He was absolutely the person that myself and Andy Mackenzie felt we wanted to do the McTaggart. I've lost track of the amount of times you tell the McTaggart that they're the first choice, but on this occasion, actually amazingly true. We wanted Peter. Peter was a free agent at that time, and of all the reasons to choose him, one of them was the fact that he is close to, has been very closely aligned to creativity, to creative talent, and he said at the time that he may or may not be in a job by the time it came to Edinburgh. To be honest, he didn't actually check with me whether I was happy for him to take the big job at ITV in relation to the McTaggart, so obviously I'm a bit miffed about that. But he took it nonetheless, and to me it makes no difference whatsoever. I would have asked him if he'd had that job at the time or not. It's a sort of Peter Fincham is who we want, and it so happens that he's also running the biggest commercial broadcaster in Britain. Just makes it all the more interesting. So I think there's going to be some really interesting stuff coming from Peter, and I think it'll be a great McTaggart. Taking credit for things you haven't done is a time-consuming and exhausting business, and I shall be doing it all weekend, which means that one of the problems with what I do is I tend not to sit down and watch very much. I tend to wander around visiting various sessions and speeches so that people can see how important I am, because I'm deeply, deeply insecure. Therefore, I probably won't sort of stay anywhere too long. I am, however, certain things I'll be going to, and I think this strand of talent that we've got coming to talk about their work and what inspires them and what they feel about the industry, I think they're all absolutely must see. Whether it's Tim Kring, the creator of Heroes, whether it's Jamie Oliver cooking on stage and giving out canapes to everyone who comes, which is absolutely the way it should be done at Edinburgh. We should do that in every session from now on. To Graham Linehan, to Armando Iannucci, who's doing the alternative McTaggart. I mean, that is a most fantastic lineup of talent, all of whom have, I think, important, interesting things to say about creativity and about content. So I'll absolutely be going to all of those. And I think there's some, as ever, the sessions are wide and they're varied, whether we're looking at video on demand, which is, has come of age, really interesting session to be had there. Obviously, sort of funding, public service and funding and those issues, we're hitting in a couple of sessions. So I think, the wonderful thing about Edinburgh, I think, is that you can, on the one hand, sort of go into a very, very big, wide-ranging debate about the future of our industry, as in the case of the public service broadcasting, where it's going. At the same time, you can go in and watch Sharon Osbourne slag off probably everyone in the next hour. So I think that balance, that variety, we've absolutely got again this year. I also think the controller sessions. People always sort of moan about the controller sessions, not least of which those that doing the moaning are the controllers themselves, who hate doing them, and I don't blame them. What we've got this year with the controllers is sort of new, improved, as in they are in the main in new jobs. This will be the first time they're talking, so whether it's Ben at 5 or Jay at 1, indeed Peter, ITV, they're all in new jobs. So I think actually there's going to be an added frisson to the controller sessions, whereby the usual criticism is, well, we've heard it all before, and you only hear them say the same thing. Well, this time you can hear them say the same thing again, but for different channels. So come on, that's not bad, is it? I think there is one very key issue the industry is facing, and the NHS has faced it in terms of its two-tier funding and two-tier user access. I think Edinburgh has a key fault line, which is there is now a two-tiered social scene, which is you've got the George Bar on the one hand, which is free to all, it's sort of free to air, and then you've got the sort of pay TV equivalent, which is the Soho House, which Channel 4 do. And Channel 4, in their very non-elitist way, have these tickets which you get given, and you can go to Soho House. What used to be, it absolutely used to be the case in sort of, when Edinburgh started in the 1930s or whenever it was, you would just go to the George Bar and basically lots of really sweaty, grim, overpaid television executives would get off with people, and it was just really quite grim. Now it seems that they're all at the Soho House, and young people can get on with their lives and go to the George Bar and have a laugh without actually having to meet any sort of TV wankers. So good, I think it's probably a good thing. Soho House is the place to really network if you're up for it. So I would say somehow you need to find someone who's got a Soho House pass and blag it into Soho House, because that's where the sort of movers and shakers go. But frankly, the George is probably more fun, or better still, just go into your hotel room and watch the Olympics. Yeah, I mean, it looks like we're going to have a record year this year. We're going to have more people attending Edinburgh than ever before. It's a trend, I think, that in the last few years it's been up every year, and certainly this year is looking very, very strong. So I think we're going to have the biggest attendance ever. I think that actually demonstrates that now is not just a brilliant time to be in television and content, because there's so many different things you can do with it, so many different avenues. The whole old order has broken up. There's new digital sort of landscape to play around in. I think it means that Edinburgh is actually also much more interesting. I mean, it's a multimedia festival. Yeah, most of it is about telly, but then that just reflects the world we live in. But increasingly, we have a whole kind of, we cover lots of issues about digital, and frankly those are all kind of part of the main sessions anyway, so there's not a lot of distinction. And people like Edinburgh, people actually are proud of the industry they work in, they do care about it, they are passionate about it, and the fact that Edinburgh are increasingly more and more popular each year, I think, is a reflection of that. People are serious about this industry, and young people in particular care a lot more than is painted and people have you believe. So another bumper year at Edinburgh, and yeah, I can't wait for it all to be over.